my son. The day you were born, the very forests of Lordaeron whispered the name Arthas.
On January 16th, 2023, WoW Classic officially died with the release of Phase 2 of Wrath of the Lich King Classic. This marked yet another failed attempt by Blizzard to capture the magic of the original game. Albert Einstein once said that the definition of insanity is repeating the same mistakes and expecting different results, and that's exactly what Blizzard has done with the subsequent releases of WoW Classic since the start of TBC. Releasing the same content was a given for Classic, but Blizzard has failed on two important fronts. First, they've only made minor changes and balancing adjustments, without taking into account how they could improve the game and maintain the community-driven experience the players loved. Second, they have failed to preserve the community-driven experience that the vanilla version of the game fostered, which was, what I believe, the core of what it means to play a classic version of World of Warcraft. To fully understand what I mean, let me first take you back again.
You guys, today we're about to play the best game in the universe called
Quick! This is it, boys. This is fucking it, man.
People are dinging all around us. They're dinging everywhere. They're dinging in chat.
As Classic WoW unfolded, it was actually a beautiful experience, and it really felt like an old MMORPG. It was a time when the game wasn't about the destination, it was really about reliving an old experience and existing in a previously forgotten world. Most of the video content that came out during this time as it relates to WoW was not guides and how-to videos. It was stories and adventures and player interaction. There were stories of legendary items being stolen.
My guild's GM just ninja'd Hand of Ragnaros mats, disbanded guild, and deleted Discord.
There were stories of large guilds forming and falling apart. Tales of massive wars between hundreds of players, where they fought each other for hours over ambiguous reasons. There were PvP and PvE scandals like collusion, coercion, and stream sniping. Tales of degenerate rogues who came from nothing and by sheer force and will became the main characters of their server.
Then have a warlock summon me to this new location to gain 6 XP, and then I can Hearthstone, trek to Ironforge, walk in, and finally ding 60.
And finally acquiring the most sacred items in the game.
And because of this, I'm a Scarab Lord, quest complete.
Stories of new players who discovered the most degenerate shit in this game, like an underground gambling ring, WoW girlfriend ERP,
top shelf certified 5-star banging WoW GF,
and gnome extortion, all in the name of reviewing this terrible game. The things that all of these stories have in common are three things. 1. A lot of people, even people that didn't play the game, were extremely interested in the unfolding community lore of the game. These videos received millions of views, whereas WoW Classic videos now only receive a fraction of the attention. 2. They required social interaction, and that interaction came from a large group of degenerates who were allowed to operate with freedom within a world that promoted player interaction.
You better find a new warrior. I ain't fucking letting him get into MC. Like, you will fucking either abandon him, or you'll fucking have 100 Olympus Spurs camping BRM 24-7 every time you're button free. I swear to God.
3. They are amazing stories that transcended the game and propagated what it meant to be part of an online world. It was awesome. And that is precisely what is the Classic experience. Living in a player-driven world where the main content comes from interacting with others in interesting ways. It is giving cooks the ingredients and seeing what kind of meals they prepare. It is giving people the tools but not telling them what to do with those tools. This idea, however, has died. It was in hospice during Burning Crusade, and Wrath of the Lich King is the funeral for a Classic experience. And as long as Blizzard keeps following the standard progression of World of Warcraft, meaning releasing the same content that came before it, there will never be a resurrection of WoW Classic. In regards to Wrath of the Lich King Classic, there are no more spectacular stories about this game that come from playing the game. You can see outside of the initial leveling experience of Wrath of the Lich King, there really isn't much to do, certainly as it pertains to community interaction. During Wrath of the Lich King, it is clear Blizzard shifted its game design to a PvE/raid focused experience, especially so with the design of Ulduar coming in several different, actually challenging hard mode difficulties, and a clear increase in the difficulty from 10 to 25 man encounters. Comparing raid encounters from vanilla, it's really a night and day difference mechanically. The hardest raid mechanics in vanilla are from Vasidius in AQ40. He has 3 mechanics, one where you have to cast frost abilities to freeze him, you have to hit him to break the frost, and then you have to AoE down the adds. You have to do this 2 to 3 times, versus looking at the hardest fight in Ulduar, Algalon the Observer, who has 5 mechanics, 3 phases, and in 2 months has only been killed by 15% of anyone who has logged the raid in Warcraft logs. However, vanilla had a different type of difficulty. Vanilla's difficulty was substantially harder when talking about coordinating 40 people to come to a 3+ hour raid week after week, and simultaneously appeasing all of those players so they don't quit. Wrath of the Lich King has a harder end game, but you don't have as many social issues in the game. Subsequently, this means less social interaction. As a consequence of this, players have shifted their focus to be more concerned with min-maxing raid performance due to the increase in difficulty of the content, and therefore really seem to be less concerned with playing the game in a socially meaningful way for endgame content. Speaking of endgame content, all endgame content in Wrath of the Lich King is instanced. In vanilla WoW, 5 different world bosses were not instanced, meaning 1. Multiple teams could engage the boss at the same time and compete for getting the kill on a said boss. 2. You had to wait for the world boss to respawn before you could engage, resulting in competition to get the world bosses before the other teams could get them. This means that world bosses were scarce. Trying to get to them before another team was very valuable. As a result, it sometimes required guild-wide coordination to get the bosses down. This means in Wrath of the Lich King, you'll never pull a boss and hope the other team doesn't come to steal the kill from you. You'll never have to coordinate with your team in the middle of the night to quickly create a party to kill a boss before someone else gets there. These bosses were not challenging, but all the fun came out of the interactions with your community and the aspiration to get the loot from the bosses.
There he is! There's a boss! Kill the fucking horde! Reset him! Reset this motherfucker if we need to.
All of this really brings me to my main issue with classic WoW Wrath of the Lich King. Community interaction via world building. For Wrath of the Lich King so far, the game devs have really dialed this back compared to the previous expansions. In vanilla we had the leveling experience, unique quests for items like Benediction and Lok Dalar, attunement quests for raid entry, and other unique quests like AQ40 questline and the war effort. Everything listed besides leveling is started for or during endgame content, but brings you back to the world and requires you to interact with lower level content in a new and meaningful way. While Wrath of the Lich King will have similar content to the war effort and the Argent Crusade, it will be significantly downsized, and again, won't really stimulate community interaction in a fun and meaningful way. In fact, I predict outside of the first 2 weeks of launch, the Argent Tournament will be almost vacant, as the open world part of the content serves mostly as a hub for daily quests. As everyone knows, everyone now is an oil baron in WoW, so gold really isn't a meaningful resource in the game. At this point, likely you are thinking, who cares about a classic experience? Who cares about community interaction? I enjoy doing my endgame content in the form of raiding weekly and logging off. To which I would say, the resurgence of classic hardcore WoW shows that this community experience is something that a large amount of the player base is interested in. A lot of people do value that classic MMORPG experience, and they come back for it. In addition to this migration, the amount of players that have left throughout TBC and Wrath of the Lich King Classic tells us this story, that people aren't happy with the game, and nostalgia only carries us so far. And if you do enjoy the game, great. To an extent, so do I. But at the end of the day, we are playing a solved game. Everything has already been done, bosses have already been killed, strategies have already been optimized, and the challenge, technically, does not exist. It's arbitrary, or a skill issue if you will. And for the record, I do play and enjoy the end game of classic WoW, but I do not think we are playing a classic experience any longer. There simply is almost no interaction as a community in this game anymore. And that is most telling through the content that is actively being created about the game and also how the players interact as a community at this time. Let me know in the comments what you think. How do you bring the classic aspect back to classic WoW? Do you think Wrath of the Lich King is holding up to your expectations? What changes to the game would you like to see to increase community interaction? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and consider subscribing for more. I've been Java Monkey J.
Father, is it over? at long last. No king rules forever, my son.
I see only darkness.